All right, we got a little brightness in here now as I walk back into my nice little man cave here. This is Let's Interrupt You, aka Let Mr. Olivo, aka Let Mr. Joe Olivo, aka Joey O. Interrupt you here on a Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. Late day I'm doing this. I know it was a little late today doing this podcast. I was trying to clear up my sinuses at this point. It seems like now my sinuses is really clear, getting a lot better. I can smell the cold is still lingering at this point. I still got the cough a little bit. 8 days of being sick. I've had this freaking cold. I'm still doing this podcast with all y'all. Um, a lot to get into here from last night's biggest disappointing game for any Boston Celtics game I've ever watched as a kid. This one especially. This felt like 2004 for the wrong reasons. Obviously, in 2004, I wanted to be the 04-05 year. It might have even been even the 03-04 year. I can't remember. That the Celtics lost a game seven. There's been a lot of game sevens that the Celtics have lost in the TD Garden. The TD Garden is cursed at this point. I'm just going to say it right now. It's 100% cursed after last night. Just the performance. Celtics started out 0 for 10 from 3. Tatum with the lingering sprained ankle, sprained foot, whatever you want to call this injury. After last night, and I'm sure of it now at this point, that this is going to be it for the Brown Tatum regime. As far as what was left of it last night, this was a disappointing game 7. Boston quit. Boston quit last night. What we saw last night was a team that just did not want to be there. 9 from 42 from 3. 39% from field goal range in of itself. They were at the free throw line at least 13 times in this game. They made 11 free throws. They were out rebound 53-44. There were at least 15 turnovers allowed. Miami scored 19 of their points of their turnovers. Boston got 21. There were at least 17 fast point breaks for the Heat. Celtics had 8. This game was already over by, I would say, if we're going to be realistic about it, probably the start of the fourth quarter is when this game was over by. Probably by the 2-minute point of the fourth quarter from last night's game, it was over. When you open up a game that you go 0-10 in from 3, I'm just trying to figure out who was screaming and hollering outside. That was a girl who always walked by my house walking her dog. I heard a voice, and I don't know that. Hopefully her voice didn't echo into the microphone here. But anyway, I'm not going to even get into full detail from this game. I'm going to give you the score right now. Heat 103, Celtics 84. I can't even go back and forth with this because it's so bad. Jaylen Brown did not show up in this game either, just FYI. Yes, he had 19 points. 1 from 9 from 3. Got to the free throw line twice. 43 minutes into it, you're 8 for 23. By the way, 13 for 36 combined between Tatum and Brown, and they only scored 33 points combined as a duo together. Horford 8 points. He was wretched in this game defensively. Defensively, he was terrible. In the paint, it alone was just bad. It was bad. It was bad all night. It was bad all night. Marcus Smart was not good. 35 minutes into it, he was not good. Grant Williams sucks. Just going to put it out there for you. Malcolm Brogdon, I don't even know why he didn't play. We didn't need him in game 6. We sure as hell didn't need him in game 7. Just did nothing in this game to help out. 0 for 3, 0 for 2 from 3. 7 minutes, 1 foul. It was bad. It was bad all the way around. When your best player was Robert Williams and he only has about, 13 minutes. Here's my question. If the whole point of this was to have Robert Williams play for over 30 minutes in the series, then why in the last, 4 games, he's only averaged about 15 minutes a game? I'm just curious. Why would you leave Al Horford, leave him out to die defensively last night? couldn't block a shot, couldn't guard anybody. And when he got good, it was when they were only down by like 5 or 6 points. When they were down by more than that, he just stopped caring. He stopped caring. This was an ugly game last night from start to finish. The foul calls, the 3-point shooting that were so wide open that hell, I could even make that. And I'm not even that good. There was a lot of wide open threes they allowed last night in this game. A lot of it. Butler was named the Larry Bird MVP, which I think that's what they named the or was it Bob Cousy? It was a Bob Cousy Eastern Conference Finals championship. The Larry Bird MVP went to Butler. Butler had 28 points, 12 from 28, 3 from 7 from 3, 1 from 2 from the free throw line, 43 minutes. Perfect. Caleb Martin, 26 points, 11 from 16, 4 from 6 from 3, 44 minutes. Outstanding. The bench, Robinson had 10 points, Lowry had 7 points. And I would say right now, Kevin Love and his veteran leadership, along with Haslam's veteran leadership, made it, and even Lowry's veteran leadership made a difference here. But the one guy that really kept this team in it, and I will say that right now, it was Jimmy Butler. If it wasn't for Butler's, decree of not losing this series, they're going to win it. Don't worry about it. They're not concerned. They're not scared. He showed no fear throughout this entire series. Didn't matter if they were an 8th seed or not. And in reality, it didn't. Right? Now, Steph Curry said it didn't matter what seed we are, we're good. LeBron James said the exact same thing. So did John Morant and the Grizzlies. But you want to know who didn't say that? Miami. Miami didn't even care what their seeding was at that point in time. They didn't say the regular season doesn't matter. They did their job. They had injuries throughout the year that actually hurt the team. If it wasn't for those injuries, they probably would have had home field advantage and they would have gotten the same revenge. This would have been an easy win all the way through for Miami from start to finish. It would have been. If they were the number 1 seed right now, this would have made no difference. This is the exact same team that we got last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, only this time around they were more aggressive. And really, if you think about it, really, injuries were a plague in 2020, 21 for this Heat team. Because realistically, if you would have got what you would have got in really what you got in 2020 at that point, let's say the Bucks didn't have that run, was in Milwaukee had some trouble with Miami. If Miami was at full health, Miami would have gone back to the Eastern Conference Finals that year. That team is a different energy all the way around. They're just that good. There's no other way of describing it. They smashed Boston in the mouth. I'm not even going to go play by play with this because it's going to take way too long. And I just don't feel like I'm just disgusted by it. That's all. I wanted history to happen as much as you people did. Believe me. And I thought the series was done. I thought the series was done when they were down 3-0. I said to myself they were not going to win game 4 in Miami. And here they are. They flipped the light switch, and I guess they must have flipped it back for game 7 because that was a horrible game 7. That was worse than the game 7 that we got with Cleveland and Boston in the 17-18 season, where Cleveland eventually got swept in the NBA Finals. Now, does that mean the same thing happens with the Heat here against the Nuggets? No, I think that goes to the 7-game series. I think this is going to go to distance. This Miami team's got more heart than people think, believe me. So does Denver. This is going to be a really great NBA Finals. Heat Nuggets. It's a lot of people are clamoring for it. It's going to start out in Denver. I don't think Miami's got a chance to guard a Joker, but I don't think Miami's going to lose those 2 games at home. Even they're undersized, I think, in this series. And there's a lot of big guys in that Denver team. You got a lot of depth, too. Miami's limited with what they have for depth, so I that's kind of the reason why I think they're going to struggle here in the series. Because the more depth you have, the more hard it's going to be trying to create matchups all the way through. So that's that. That was an awful game last night, though. You're 7.5-point underdogs if you're Miami going into this game. And Boston, for whatever reason, just did not show up. Derek White carried this team too, all the way through. He had 18 points. Really, in reality, if you think about it, if the Celtics would have won last night, Derek White would have been the MVP, not Tatum, not Brown. Tatum, who was just off all night with a bad foot. Just not a good night overall. I knew right there and then we were in trouble from that start. Did I think we were going to lose? I thought we were going to overcome it. But that was an awful game last night. Terrible, terrible game. Game 1 of the NBA Finals starts on Thursday, and I predict the Nuggets will win in 7. But I'm predicting Denver wins, I'd say by, if I had to put a guess on this one, I'd say it's a 20-point win to start out. Shock factor there. Miami gets their stamina back. They lose it. They lose their balance in game 1. Gets out of hand. Joker just goes off. Has a triple-double. Gets, the game of a lifetime, really. And Jamal Murray shows up too. I think Butler and Murray one-on-one is going to be the match to watch heading into this NBA Finals. Because realistically, as much as you want to see the Joker win his MVP title in the NBA Finals, Jamal Murray and Jimmy Butler are battling for that MVP conversation. It's going to be about those two going head-to-head. So I think Denver wins it in 7. I think Jamal Murray gets MVP, and I think if it hadn't come down to it, a game 7, where I think Jamal Murray will go off, and I think he'll have 50 points in that game. I think the Joker has 25 points. He has 21 rebounds, and he has 18 assists. But I think Jamal Murray's 50 points with the triple-double as well, because I think he gets it as well. I think he gets the most rebounds and assists as well in that series. And I think Jamal Murray gets the MVP. I think the Joker has that one big game, and then it's going to be about Jamal Murray and Butler going head-to-head throughout. And Joker could be part of that factor here. It's his first NBA Finals. He can play like the Larry Bird, Wilt Chamberlain 2.0 combination. But as far as MVP conversation and as far as a story where Jamal Murray tore his ACL, missed the entire NBA season last year, and for him to come back full circle here, for now him to be in the NBA Finals, this is a Jamal Murray story more than it's about the Joker story. Script writes itself. Stanley Cup Finals were on last night as well. This ended up being a 6-0 shutout when Dallas was completely destroyed by the end of all this. It was a William Carey with a goal, Carlson with a power play goal, Keegan Coulson with a goal, and this was all in the first period. Second period was Jonathan Marchant with a backhand shot, William Carlson again with a goal, and Michael Eminato with a goal. 6-0 shutout. This was a game where I don't even know why they even bothered keeping a goalie in there. I don't know why they even bothered. No response, no life, just another embarrassing shutout. And I'm surprised they didn't throw more debris in this game. I mean, there's really no other way of describing it. Vegas came to play. Bruce Cassidy's going to the Stanley Cup final. Cam Neely is looking at this going, why the hell did we fire this guy? The whole organization is looking at this and going, shaking heads and saying the exact same thing. Why did we fire this guy? LeBron James, who stopped having minority ownership of the Red Sox and focus on the Bruins, is looking at us going, you are the dumbest morons on the planet, and I should have owned this hockey team, and I should have kept that coach around. Because right now, he's making Vegas look great right about now. So don't be surprised that LeBron James decides at the end of all this, when Vegas wins the Stanley Cup, that LeBron wants a piece of that trophy and goes on and own a Vegas Golden Knights instead and sells his stake to somebody else. Because at the end of the day, Boston sports, since LeBron has taken over, it has made itself look pathetic. And I don't know if it's just a further the point at this point to try to find people who are fans of LeBron James to care. Because LeBron's got no power stake in this whole thing. It's just him enjoying the viewership and getting his, opinions in there. But there's no power moves. There's no decisions being made on LeBron's front. He's not going in the locker rooms talking to these players. But I would like to be LeBron's face when they fired Bruce Cassidy back in 2022. The Bruins did. What their mindset was for that one. And they bring in a coach who realistically, in certain situations, refuses to adjust anything, even when they know they're going down. Bruins were able to find a way to adjust to their adjustments and, stick with the plan until the plan blew up in their faces, and Montgomery didn't take blame. And I think that's a problem. At least Bruce Cassidy took the blame here when he had bad losses. Never call any players out, never hide from the media. I just think at the end of the day, it's like you fired the wrong guy. I mean, at this point, I thought firing was the right move just because you need a fresh start anyway. When you got someone like Patrice Bergeron, who's got the longer tender, it's fair. But I mean, I don't see how a player who's disgruntled and wants out of Boston would stick around at this point because the coach got fired because he wasn't nice to his buddy Tuukka Rask. It's like I just don't get that logic. And here's the funny thing: Bruce Cassidy never forced Tuukka Rask to come back in the bubble because he knew half the team didn't want to play in the bubble anymore. So there was no sense of forcing it. It was Neely and the ownership of the Bruins that forced it more down Tuukka's throat than anything else. But Bruce Cassidy got the brunt of it because apparently Tuukka Rask never bothered to put his TV on to see the season start up again in about 3 months. And apparently Bruce Cassidy never relayed the news to Tuukka, which is the only reason why he got fired in the first place. Now, if that would have happened and Tuukka Rask would have actually used his brain and actually put the TV on, and actually, instead of wasting everybody else's time at that point, and he could have opted out because he would have still been paid. But now, all full circle, with the Golden Knights now going to the Stanley Cup Final and Bruce Cassidy leading the charge for that team, it's all going to be fitting to watch the Florida Panthers win that series in 6 games. It'll all be so great. Because all it comes down to is Bruce Cassidy's choke coach job. He cannot win the big cup. He can't do it. He can't do it. And I'm not saying that he's not a great coach. He is. The problem with him is that at the end of the day, it's all going to come down into who's been the hotter team at this point. And when you're hotter team and the lowest seed, you're more likely to win in a Stanley Cup final. It's happened before. Happened plenty of times. So to me, this wouldn't surprise anybody at all at this point. And the Golden Knights choked here. I wouldn't be surprised. They've choked before. Hell, they were the number 1 seed when they did choke the first time around against the Capitals, ironically. The exact same record. So this is nothing new. We're living 2018, 5 years later. Only the difference now here is you're facing a Florida Panther team that's an 8 seed. That's it. The Capitals, I'm pretty sure, were a 3rd seed going to that Stanley Cup final. And they were. So that's that. So let's get that out of the way. We got some basketball news / hockey news / NFL news, if there really is NFL news here. Oh, let's really start with the NBA news, which is Lonzo Ball being told by doctors to expect never to play basketball ever again. Which today I say it's kind of funny looking at it now, thinking, okay, so Lonzo Ball, who's basically resorted himself away from LeVar, away from the Ball family, basically pulling an Aaron Rodgers, not talking to his family at this point. And by the way, Lonzo Ball and LeVar have not had a conversation going back to that whole sneaker debacle in 2018. So it's been about 5 years at this point. They're going on now of not speaking terms, which I don't even know if that's true or not. But we've seen Lonzo distance himself away from his father. And I don't know if they are on speaking terms at this point. I don't want to jinx anything at this point, but I have not heard a report saying that they've rekindled. That's a dead relationship from the get-go. And I think that's pretty sad because it's doing wonders for LaMelo Ball. It's doing favors for LiAngelo. Why is it not doing any favors for Lonzo? I have no idea. But Lonzo not being able to play basketball again, that's going to be crushing. This guy was a former first rounder at this point. He's definitely a bust now because of his career being practically over at this point. I mean, he wasn't even good to begin with. And he started, break through in New Orleans, break through in Chicago, but it never kindled to a really, a beautiful flower blossoming in the spring season. It just never came out that way for Lonzo. So Lonzo, to me, as far as I'm concerned, is a bust. And I don't know why I'm getting I don't know if it's just my allergies at this point. My eyes feel like they're getting red. Are they? No? All right. I'm choking up right now. It's probably because this room is kind of filthy. It's a little dusty in here, but I'm doing the best I can to pull through the sickness. I am, like I said before. My throat's getting a little tickle in my throat. So I'm just trying to get through this as quickly as possible, these stories. Excuse me. More NBA news. Larry Brown discussed in an interview and why he thinks that he knows why so many good NBA coaches have been fired. And he went on the record as saying because they basically don't want to, upset the superstar. Really upset the face of the franchise, really, is what he means. Doesn't want to push any buttons. By the way, Larry Brown and the Allen Iverson saga, anything but the championship, but the chip, I guess that's what it's called, is on tomorrow night on NBA TV. I will go in full discussion mode about that entire thing when I get a chance to watch that this week. And I'm going to tell you right now, it was not pretty, that feud that Larry Brown and Allen Iverson did have for one another. It was back and forth at each other's throats. I don't know how this wasn't on the biggest NBA feuds, because this may have been a bigger feud than Shaq and Kobe. Allen Iverson and Larry Brown disdained one another. They couldn't stand one another. And in today's league, I think these coaches want to avoid all these confrontations with the superstar players, so they try to be friends with one another. They try to befriend them. When in reality, they take advantage of it. They do. That's why you see people say, oh, they pull LeBron and get a coach fired. They pull a Russell Westbrook, with certain superstars. And I'm not saying these superstars do it. I mean, I'm saying Russell Westbrook and LeBron do it all the time. Try to get the coaches fired. You're never going to hear that in the NFL. And you want to know why? Because the NFL actually has real head coaches. The NBA at this point has gone soft. Has gone soft with the coaching. Has gone soft with everything. And it's unfortunate. It's sad. But facts are facts. And you're going to find out more about that tomorrow night with the Larry Brown story and Allen Iverson's rivalry within the actual team. Speaking of the the 76ers and all that, Nick Nurse has just become the 76ers' new head coach. I was going to CBS Sports as of yesterday. Nick Nurse, who won a championship with the Toronto Raptors. Here's my question, just hypothetically. How many seasons do you think Nick Nurse will last in Philadelphia with the process with Joel Embiid? How long? Because I don't see a difference in this team at all. It's going to be the exact same thing. They start out really well. They end up being a third seed. They're stuck there all year long. And then they lose to Boston in the next round, or whoever there is the number 2 seed. And that's so on and so forth. Because I see no difference. And even if they do get to an NBA Finals, even if they do, I still think they're going to get outmatched. I still think they'll stick their heads in the sand. They'll make Nick Nurse look like a chump. And that's it. One NBA Finals appearance, second round eliminations, and then Nick Nurse is out the door. Either he gets out of his contract or he gets fired. So that to me is just bound to happen. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. I'm saying it like legitimately. Like that. That's pretty freaking sad. Washington Capitals hire Spencer Cabry as the next head coach after 2 seasons as a Maple Leafs assistant. So this guy could be the one that basically, gives the ultimatum for Alex Ovechkin. Either keep playing at your high level at this point and lead his team to a championship and not stick your head in the sand late in the year and not try to do anything in the playoffs. Because Ovechkin's way too talented to be going away after 20 years with 1 cup. I'm sorry, I'm just not buying it. Ovechkin, by the way, who I think realistically could this past year, if he was traded to go somewhere else, and I think that's bound to happen. There's bound to be a rebuild in Washington. There's bound to be one with free agency coming up and stuff like that at the end of the year. Is Ovechkin going to be part of that rebuild? Is Crabtree going to allow that rebuild to happen? Do they need a rebuild? A lot of unanswered questions in Washington. So we'll see what happens going forward. And that the same thing goes for Boston Celtics, by the way. Just FYI, I wanted to bring this up. And I know I'm going back to the Boston Celtics portion of things, but I might as well get this out of the way. After thinking about it, if Jaylen Brown wants to get traded out of Boston, I'm okay with it. Tatum can stick around at this point. He's the face of that franchise. Brown's not. The breakup's coming. And I think Jaylen Brown's going to end up in Houston with Ime Udoka. That's my take. Oh, my God. My throat's so freaking dry. Anyway, more hockey news. Goalie Linus Ullmark could be replaced. This is according to Boston Bruins fan club based in Canada. Details are on this website here. And here's my take on the whole thing. If Linus Ullmark is going to get replaced, is going to get traded, and they're going to stick with Swayman in the end of all this, they're making a mistake. I think Ullmark at this point has become the number 1 goalie for this team. The fact that they're at the 1 bad series with Florida and after Montgomery's really stupid way of exposing Ullmark is what cost the Bruins this entire season. And now they're going to replace him and not fire Montgomery? Montgomery's not the reason why he was fired. This was Bruce Cassidy's doing. This was his work. He was more of a believer in this team alone. And had they actually bought in these goalies with Cassidy here, it would be different. It would be different. Montgomery left Ullmark to dry. He never fixed Pasternak's game like freaking Cassidy was going to. The reality of it was there was a Cassidy ownership and Tuukka Rask rivalry that never got resolved. That was a distraction. Rask left the building. Bergeron was pissed off, didn't want to blame the owners and president because they all knew they weren't going to get removed. So Cassidy was the one that had to go. When in reality, Bergeron had to be the one that had to go. I know he's a Boston Bruin legend, but he was there for far too long. He was there for far too long. What was he useful for? That whole series was a complete, utter failure. He was terrible last year in the first round. He was terrible this past year in the first round. What service did he offer? He offered no service. And Ullmark here was exposed thanks to Montgomery. You had a goalie system where Swayman was ice cold, was ready to go for Game 5, ready to go for Game 6 if possible, and certainly was not prepared for Game 7. Ullmark was a late scratch, by the way. That was Ullmark's game. He was a late scratch because of a president's decision, ownership's decision, not Montgomery's. Montgomery might as well just said, I have no hearsay, do whatever. Montgomery stuck his head in the sand and watched that team implode, knowing that team was going to implode and didn't bother making any arrangements. You want to know my honest opinion? Montgomery was worse than Joe Mazzula. That's it. That's the end of that factor right there. Montgomery, at least Mazzula tried to make adjustments. you had a guy who played through an injury. Bergeron should have sat out because he had no business in playing through an injury. Yomark played through a series of illness that he had for weeks, probably a month. And you had an old veteran that should have known better than to come back in 2022 and play hockey. If anyone should be replaced, it's Bergeron, it's Krejci, it's Marchand. That whole shrine of players that is getting old, that is holding everybody back. They are forcing these guys out to dry. Both Marchand, Krejci, and Bergeron, why they take all the glory and fame and all the freaking t-shirts, jersey sales, and all that crap. It's garbage. And when you allow that crap to happen, you got a coach that doesn't care. And Bruce Cassidy knew that from the get-go, which is why he got fired. You want to know why Montgomery won't get fired? Because of politics and ass-kissing. That's it. But this is a much, and I think Montgomery's overrated as a head coach. You want my honest opinion? That team of St. Louis Blues carried that coach. Through all his drama, through all his bull crap, through all the stuff he did in St. Louis, he was utterly useless in his time. And he was damn near lucky to win a Stanley Cup in 2019. He was not so lucky in Boston. And Bruce Cassidy, you know, I kind of hope, honest to God, I'm wrong, and I kind of hope he does win the cup here. But I think deep down Florida wins that cup. But if Linus Ullmark had to get replaced, if he had to go somewhere else, honestly, at this point, and I'm just being full on said mode here, go to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They need another goalie anyway. Seriously, it wouldn't be hurting my feelings. Stick it to Boston. Because if we get that for a first-round matchup next year, we're not winning that series with Linus Ullmark not being the goalie for Boston. That's it. But what I just said just now needs to happen. And I doubt it's going to. There's a fire Brad Stevens GM thing, by the way, for the Boston Celtics thing. Here's the thing. After what I heard today about, and I was going to go with Bob Myers at this point to replace Brad Stevens here, because I figured since he stepped, which I'll get into more in just a second. But Brad Stevens needs to go too anyway. Bad GM, in my opinion. To go with a guy who I think realistically was not ready to coach his team, was not ready to remove the interim head to coach tag thing. They rushed the whole thing because they thought Ime Udoka was a dead set to go to Brooklyn. And when he wasn't, they couldn't take it back. So really, in the long haul here, when you got a team that was inherited by Danny Ainge, not by Brad Stevens, not by Ime Udoka, it was inherited by Danny Ainge. There's no other way of putting it. Danny Ainge basically left the teachings of Wick Rosbachek and Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens, who was totally not ready to be a head coach in the NBA. Look what they did. They removed half the freaking depth on that roster half the time. Or either that or they gave him just Jaylen Brown in the beginning. Brown, who was not ready at that time and was exposed way too soon. Jason Tatum, the same thing. Not too ready. Brown came out of Cal. Tatum came out of Duke. You want to know my honest opinion? They weren't ready. Brad Stevens was not ready to be that head coach. Brad Stevens, you could argue right now, going back to back Eastern Conference Finals, do you really honestly think at that point that East was strong when it's just Cleveland and Boston at the time? It wasn't. And Tatum over time got better, but it was the Kyrie Gordon Hayward show. That was the script. The script got broken with Hayward's injury. The script got broken when Kyrie poisoned that team. The script got broken when the pandemic happened. The script got broken when Brad Stevens was still coaching after the fucking bubble season. Excuse my language. Now, why Bob Myers from the Golden State Warriors, that you might ask? Well, he's no longer with the Golden State Warriors. After 11 seasons, was released from his duties. I'm shocked by this. This was the biggest shock of the entire afternoon. Leaps and bounds. This didn't even reach my thought process after the Warriors got eliminated by the Lakers. Didn't even reach my process. There was all this contract talk about Klay Thompson, what was going to happen with Draymond Green. But Bob Myers stepping down as a general manager, something's up. Something's up. It was time. For the guys in his 50s, how is this his time? This is the end of the Warriors dynasty as far as I'm concerned. Klay Thompson's contract is up. And we all know Draymond Green is the heart and soul of Golden State. He is. Maybe want to believe that he's not at this point. He's always all washed up. He's the heart and soul. Fans love heart and soul. They love attitude. They love his podcast. If Klay Thompson had a podcast right now, I think there might be a fight in there going forward. But the Splash Brothers at this point, I mean, if it has to be a sacrifice that has to be made at this point, because Bob Myers being gone at this point just jeopardized the chance of Klay Thompson coming back. It didn't. Hell, I think it jeopardized the chance of Steph Curry even staying in Golden State. Steve Kerr as well. Because and I know they're sticking with Mike Dunleavy Jr. as the guy who would take over in that run. I think what impact Myers had to put that team together as president, and for Mike Dunleavy to sit there and inherit that, it's just, I mean, unless everyone sticks around, everything will be fine. But I think if Klay Thompson goes, or Steph Curry decides to cut ties with Golden State and leave to go somewhere else, with Klay Thompson in tow, because that's the thing. I don't think Steph Curry can do this by himself without Klay. He needs his partner in crime. They're like Batman and Robin. That right there is your Batman and Robin reference right there. I would use to describe Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Steph Curry's Batman. Obviously, Robin is Klay Thompson. Buddy and Clyde. I mean, I could go on and on here. I mean, Hansel and Gretel. It just, the listing goes on and on here. And I think letting that trio of players go, that duo, is a big freaking fail. And Steve Kerr at this point, if those two go, there's no way he's gonna get fired here after all the success he's had as a head coach. He's gone. And if I say where Steph Curry and Klay Thompson go, I don't think it's to the Lakers. I don't think it's gonna be to the Clippers. I don't even think it's gonna be any team in the Western Conference. But go East. Go East here and figure, where exactly would they line up themselves up in? It's not that the Boston Celtics, that's a pipe dream. That's never going to happen. But the Brooklyn Nets sound promising. What big contracts do they really have left at this point? There's no more Kyrie. There's no more Kevin Durant. I mean, their contracts are hereby voided at this point. Void and done. You traded his contract over for first-round draft picks. That was your deal. You got that in return. Congratulations, Brooklyn. Now, you can sign some talent. Steph Curry here makes a lot of sense to go to Brooklyn. So does Klay Thompson. If Steph Curry would have cut that contract, if he wants to stay in Golden State without Klay Thompson, because I think Klay Thompson's days are numbered in Golden State. I don't think he gets resigned. I can't see both of those players getting resigned, Draymond and Klay. I don't. If Draymond gets to be let go here, I think Golden State's better off because it helps out with their defense. Now, if Klay Thompson leaves and Draymond stays, I think Curry's gonna have a harder time. I think this Warrior team will be stuck in 6th and 7th seed every year. Maybe they'll get a 5th seed out of it, but unless the West is really terrible the rest of the way, and it's just Phoenix that's good, and Denver's good, and Memphis is meh, then I think they have a shot if the West is terrible. If the West is too solid, they're 4th and 5th seeded or 6th and 7th seed at best. They're one of those 4 seeds I just mentioned. And that's just on a good day with this whole NBA load management bullcrap. That's even with that. Caleb Love transferred to Arizona, the former North Carolina star, heading to the Pac-12 at the previous commitment to the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan Wolverines, college is in a crisis. When it comes to the football programs, when it comes to the college basketball programs, they're in a crisis. There's no other way of looking at it. Every single story with the investigation of Jim Harbaugh and what the involvement was with the whole tampering scheme or whatever, and all that stuff. I mean, it's just drama, drama, drama. Caleb wanted no part of that, and now he's going to go to Arizona to a school really that could use him. The question is now is how far can he take that team? And I think that the first thing he can take to is the Sweet 16, because Arizona always chokes in bigger moments. Ray Allen, I never even mentioned this, by the way, and I probably did it in my podcast, but I couldn't find the audio for it. So I'm gonna, if I already announced it already, I'm gonna announce it again. Ray Allen's son, Ray Allen III, is going to be committed to going to URI. So if you're a URI Ram basketball fan, which I don't know if anyone can, which actually no, you can't see that because I'm not draw alone. But I do have a URI Ram towel. So I am a URI Ram basketball. I will be interested in watching Ray Allen's kid play this year. I will be fully invested on this team this year. Not making any promises. Not seeing a deep run from URI this year. I don't think they're going to be a round of 64, round of 32. I'm not delusional here, okay? URI's got a long way to go to convince me, of all people, to be saying to myself, this kid's going to be good for someday in the NBA. Is he going to be looked at a lot in the microscopes of the NBA at URI? Maybe. Maybe if URI is invested in their basketball season, maybe they will be. But my biggest pet peeve is the coach they have right now. He should be one and done, and I think that'll be the problem with that team going forward. I think really in reality what that team really needs is someone like Ray Allen to completely coach that team up. So it's a little conflicting, yeah, because it's a father and son duo, but here's the thing. Ray Allen's all about what's best for the team. And if Ray Allen III is not going to be the best for the team, he's got to start with the bench, he'll bench him. He's not a guy that's going to play favoritism and play politics with his son. I don't think he's not LeBron. So, at the end of the day, Ray Allen being the head coach for the URI basketball program would be a boost. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think it's a long shot. I doubt it does happen. I have my doubts. I really do. I have my doubts. I don't think that's going to happen. But it would be nice. Yeah, it'd be one hell of a conversation. And really be one way to say the PC, too, because they couldn't get it Ray Allen's kid. Anyway, Troy Aikman believes Tom Brady could still play for the Raiders in 2023. The owners, though, are against Tom Brady coming out of retirement again. There was a vote of no confidence with that whole conversation, so that could end up backfiring against the owners and could still play anyway. That could happen. Even though Brady handed his retirement papers in, he can't undo it because he has got to hand in playing papers at this point, which the commissioner and the owners are refusing to do. And this is all because in light of the Jimmy Garoppolo debacle with the foot injury. What possibly could be the story here is he went through foot surgery, and they're saying now if he can't play in 2023, he's cut, he's done, he's no longer a Raider, which would bring in Tom Brady. After the year Tom Brady had, with that Raider offensive line that I don't think is really that great, I'm not so sure if Brady would trust that offensive line. What's worse, that offensive line for the Raiders or the offensive line that the Buccaneers had last season without Jensen? I don't know what's worse. Is he going to have time to throw the ball? Is he going to be able to trust that offensive line? Is McDaniels overnight going to turn into the New England Patriots from 2016? I don't see it happening. I don't. Or the Patriots from 2018. Either way, either year, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Brady's done. I think he had his moment in the sun. He's had enough NFL careers. He played till he's 45 years old. He wants to be with his family and friends, and at the same time, he possibly wants to date Kim Kardashian. That was a rumor going around too. He's bought minority stock in the team. He's got no hearsay on the team at all whatsoever. It does not matter. But if Brady does come back to play here, he would be looking at George Belenda's record of the oldest NFL player and try to surpass it and try to get to age 50. Because Belenda had played to be 48 years old. So it's possible that could happen. It really is possible. Let's see. Stephen A. Smith has blockbuster trade rumors in his mind. He believes that Damian Lillard should go to Boston Celtics. And I think it's going to be exchanged for Jaylen Brown, which Brown, of course, will be going to Portland. I didn't hear what his quote was, but he did write this in. It'd be Jaylen Brown. I think he said Jaylen Brown. I think he possibly said. Marcus Smart probably he said as part of it as well. And I don't know, Robert Williams probably was put on notice here. But let's be realistic here. Here's a blockbuster trade that I would do him at this point. Not Damian Lillard. But I would do, and if I were to go through this right now, I'd say this is the right move. And I know it's within the Eastern Conference right now, and I think it's kind of outlandish to do it, but you do it another team as well. You send Smart, Brown, and I think you send Robert Williams. I think goes to Houston. I think in this trade as well. You trade Houston there. You trade Robert Williams, and I think Mazzula as coach, and you bring back Ime to Boston. Just screw with everybody, right? He takes a suspension. He takes a seat. He lets Brad Stevens coach a game or two or whatever next year. Robert Williams goes to Houston for Ime Udoka. Mazzula goes to Houston as well. Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart goes to Toronto for Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam. I would take those guys in a heartbeat. You talk about guys that are impactful players. They bump and grind. They know the grind. They know what it's like to win a championship. They're not soft. They could go at you. And I think realistically, and here's my opinion. I know people are going to hate the Robert Williams trade, but the big payoff in this whole thing here is that you draft somebody who's big at center, and or you get a big center. You get a big trade back in return, or some key moves in free agency. There's a lot going on as far as certain contracts go and everything else. I mean, realistically, if we're going to be realistic about this, and I know some people are going to not like the idea of it, but Gallinari could be your center next year. He is close to 7 foot at this point. He's 6'10", 6'11", right? That's the size of Gallinari. You convince Al Horford at this point is, I guess technically not a power forward, but you got Ime Udoka back there next year. You got no Brown excuse at this point. Him not stepping up. You got Derek White still there next year. Believe me, this could work. This could be a realistic thing. I know what people are thinking at this point. Whoever Houston has as a center, you take him at full grasp here. If not him, then you take I'd take Zeller in free agency for Miami. He's a guy at this point that is probably in the last year of his contract. So you take him and free agency, and you try to work out with that. You got size at that point when you get Zeller to come here, so it works out in your favor. You got Gallinari, you got Zeller, and you got Al Horford for one more year. Horford, I don't think is the reason, and I don't think this guy should retire either. I think just had one bad night. So, but Horford's going to show more emotion if he's going to be upset about these games. Has to. There's no doubt about it. Red Sox got this 2 out of 3 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're playing currently right now against the Cincinnati Reds. They're down 2-0. They only have a 2-game series this week against the Cincinnati Reds, and they play, I believe, on Was it Friday they play on Friday? Against the, they have a 3-game series against the Reds. I'm sorry. But this Friday coming up, they play against a division rival, the Tampa Bay Rays. Division leading Tampa Bay Rays, to be exact. They took 2-3 against the Dodgers, by the way, this past weekend as well. They had a great weekend. I didn't even mention that. I will get into scores from last night's games and tonight's games as well quickly. And then from there, I'll sign off, and I don't think there's anything else left to talk about here. Golf from this past weekend. Let's see what happened here. Here we go. The Charles Schwab Challenge. Grillo won at 8 under. Sky Shepard only finished tied for third with 7 under here. Schneck got the win there. That was over the weekend on a Charles Schwab Classic. As far as baseball goes from last night, well, I'll give you the score from last night. Guardians shot the Orioles 5-0. Cubs beat the Rays 1-0. Angels beat the White Sox 6-4. Giants beat the Pirates 14-4. Dodgers beat the Nationals 6-1. Yankees beat the Mariners 10-4. Rangers shut out the Detroit Tigers 5-0. Royals beat the St. Louis Cardinals 7-0. They almost had a combined perfect game, which ended in the bottom of the 8th with Nolan Arenado's single. The Twins beat the Astros 7-5. The Diamondbacks beat the Rockies 7-5. Twins went in 10 innings in their game. The Oakland Athletics beat the Atlanta Braves 7-2. Upset win yesterday on a Memorial Day Monday. Yesterday was Memorial Day, so happy Memorial Day to everybody out there. I know it's yesterday, but I just wanted to say it today. Didn't get a chance to say it at the end of the podcast yesterday. Padres Marlins are tied at 4-4 right now here tonight. Currently in the bottom of the 7th right now. The Orioles are up 8-3 over the Guardians. Blue Jays are beating the Brewers 7-2. Reds are beating the Red Sox 2-0. Cubs are beating the Reds. Cubs are beating the Rays. I'd say 1-0. Mets are beating the Phillies 1-0. Angels and White Sox are tied at 1-1. They're in the bottom of the 3rd. Yankees Mariners are in a 9:40 time start tonight. Pirates Giants start at 9:45. National Dodgers start at 10:10. Rangers are beating the Tigers right now 9-6. They're in the bottom of the 8th. Bottom of the 5th, no score with the Royals and the Cardinals. Astros are up 3-0 right now over the Twins. Braves are playing the Oakland Athletics. It's at 9:40, and you have the Rockies playing the Diamondbacks at 9:40 as well. WWE United Champions results. Rollins is your WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Brock Lesnar beat Cody Rhodes by locking the Kimura lock and forcing him to pass out. The Bloodline imploded. Jimmy Uso super kicked Roman Reigns as Sami Zayn and KO retained their tag team championships, the undisputed tag team championships, over Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns. Solo took the pinfall here in the match as he got hit with the stunner and the Halua kick. Gunther retained his IC title, which I think I don't know if I already reviewed this already. Oh, you know what? I just did. I just realized I just right. I reviewed that already. That was AEW Double or Nothing. I was going to review it for you guys. I think I gave you all the guys results for that show, right? I want to say, right? I gave the results for all that for WWE stuff. I don't even know I did. If I did, let me know in the comment section. AEW Double or Nothing. Not much of a show. Jade Cargill is no longer undefeated. She lost her TBS Women's Championship to Chris Statlander. Orange Cassidy retained his AEW International title. The tag team titles, FTR retained over Jared and Jay Lethal. The Trios tag team titles with the House of Black was retained. They retained over the Acclaim. There was a mystery opponent. It was an open challenge. In the end of the match, I think Aleister Black. He hit the kick on? Yeah, he did. He hit the Black Mass on Billy Gunn, who took the pinfall in the match. The BBC beat the Elite in the Anarchy Arena in the main event. Adam Cole beat Chris Jericho in the second match of the show. Not much of a match there. That match was kind of disappointing, really. It was all a bunch of nonsense anyway, with Sabu for just wanting to get involved in AEW stuff. Took the Jericho Appreciation Society completely out of the match by putting out the two dweebs Daniel Garcia was taken out of the match entirely, chased out by Sabu, and so was Hager. So nothing much there. Roderick Strong took them out too. So I mean, it was nothing much about that show really. It just, if I rate that show, I'd say it was a B minus, close to a C plus. That pay per view was not great at all. That was a weak pay per view. Had trouble buying it all weekend long too. I had issues loading up my laptop, so I had to watch it on my phone. Not much to see there. Not much to see there at all. Just very unfortunate. I meant to mention this earlier. The Colorado Buffalo are thinking about going back to the Big 12. And I had a take on this. So this is my take on that whole shebang. And I might just wrap it up there. Although I got another story with John Gruden that we're going to definitely wrap it up. The reason why I think Colorado is going back to the Big 12 is a smart thing. You get rid of the noise of Texas Longhorns. You get rid of the Oklahoma Sooners. You get rid of that, all the attention off those two schools. That goes away. All the attention goes on Deion Sanders in the Colorado Buffalo. The sky's the limit when it goes to Colorado. They can go on and be clinching the Big 12 every year. They can compete with TCU. They can compete with Kansas. But ultimately, I think Colorado at this point, depending on what happens with that school, because Jackson State was great with Deion Sanders. I don't know why Colorado is getting cold feet with him. I don't know why the players are getting cold feet with him. I don't know if those players even got transferred after that whole situation. At this point, maybe there were some things that changed, but I have not heard one complaint since that happened. But sky's the limit when it goes to Deion Sanders. I think he can actually be successful. With this move going to the Big 12, which I don't think they should have left the Big 12 in the first place. They should have stayed right in the Big 12. They never should have went to the Pac-12. That was a fail from the start, and they all knew it was. They took more money because of it. So that right there with Texas Longhorns and Oklahoma going to SEC in 2024, if they can pull this off by 2024 and have them go there, Colorado is going to be in the national championship conversation every year. That Big 12 stool is going to skyrocket because you got contenders like TCU. You got contenders like Kansas. You got contenders like Colorado. These are not big-time schools that people will look at. And Colorado has not been an actual figure as far as big conversations, other than Deion Sanders going in there, since Eric Bieniemy was in there causing trouble. So that's my take. I think that'd be huge for the Big 12 if they get back Colorado. Huge. Saints explain why they took in John Gruden. Dennis Allen explains why the team brought in the John Gruden for obviously consolation as a consultant, really. This is what they had to say here. It says, quote, look, you ask everybody that was involved, and they thought it was really beneficial for our football team. Allen said, according to ESPN, and look, we're going to look at any avenue that we can to try to improve. So that was one area we thought just bring him in, having the opportunity to sit down and visit with him would help us. So he's only brought in as a consultant. And I'm going to tell you this right now. He's going to be their consultant for the entire 2023 NFL season. And I already said this before, and I'll say it again. He will coach that New Orleans Saints team in 2023. He will get fired 5 weeks into it, and he'll coach the first game against the New England Patriots. It's bound to happen. All right. I'm out of here. I'm done. I've done my reports for today. I've done my stuff I need to get into here. That's pretty much it. I'm signing off right now. I have my Bleacher Report back, so I'll be ready to go for the NBA Finals. I'll get the thing editing ready to go, put my hot takes in that one. And I will actually snapshot those things. And what will happen is I will post it on my Facebook feed and put it on my Instagram feed. Facebook is Joseph Olivo. Snapchat is JOlivoSports123. Instagram is Joe Olivo Boston Sports. TikTok is Joe Olivo. I think mine was just Joseph Olivo or Joe Olivo for Bleacher Report. I honestly don't remember what the account was. But anyway, I'm signing off. And also, by the way, for anybody out there who wants to buy tickets this year, try ticket pick here. What they do is they freeze the actual taxes that they add onto the ticket, and they shrink the price, and you'll get it a lot cheaper. Download the app on your phone now. I just did, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to buy myself some football tickets this year, go to a lot of games this year in 2023. I'm signing off. I've been Joseph Olivo. This schedule this week is Friday and Saturday once again. I will recap all the games as much as I can for baseball. I haven't been posting a lot. I'm sorry. Just been forgetting, honestly. Been busy at work too, although it's been a dead period. But I will try to get my scores in there. I will try to do it as quickly as I can. It's not easy doing it at the job I do it at, but I will give you what you want. You want content, you're going to get it. You want me to do this podcast, you're going to get it. You want me to post the thing at the end of this episode on Instagram on my story, you're going to get it. That's it. I'm out. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys.